Hello and welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. You're watching Ladies of Crypto. And if you're new here, I'm Casey. How's everybody doing today? I see a lot of people in the chat starting to talk and come in. Let's see who's here today before we get started. Okay. Let's see. I see Sammy, hello, and Ninja Cowboy made it in from Discord, in time from Discord. So glad that you're here. Dayton Best 6822, please ask about BMNR news and Ethereum. Okay. Yolanda, hello, ladies and everyone. Morning, great lady Casey from Kevin. Good to see you in here, friend. Terry, hello. Good morning, ladies and gents. That's Ray Din. And then Vince Bango, hello, good afternoon. Tidy Big Dog, seeing a lot of familiar faces. Vaz says Casey, Casey, Casey. Hi, Vaz. Vaz. Sensei, hi, good to see you. Let's see. Petra, hello from Spain. Oh, nice. I wonder how's the weather in Spain? Love to know. It's one place that I haven't made it yet, but I would love to visit. William Meyer, good morning. And Zach Zate, always listening. Good to see you. High Energy Investments, good to see you too. And Kimberly, Poor Man to Rich Man, let's go. You're doing awesome. Thank you for all the info. Awesome. Thank you. So we last week I hit a little hiccup and I apologize. I had audio issues last week and had to stop the show. But today I'm going to do a quick recap. Today I'm going to do we're just going to do a brief overview of what I covered in the beginning because I think everybody heard that last week. And then I'm going to go into covering what we didn't get to last week. So in past shows, we've already talked about the foundational behavior of investing in what I like to call the richest woman in Babylon. And then we've also covered the behavior of the crypto market and how the market acts itself. So today we're going to talk about market psychology, specifically the cycle psychology of markets. So if your portfolio has had you like on an absolute emotional roller coaster, you're not alone. The last few weeks, I have felt the same. Welcome to investing. And just a quick disclaimer before we get started, nothing that I say is financial advice. This is educational commentary. I'm not here to tell you what to buy or what to sell. I'm just here to help you think clearly. So, in my life, raising kids, being married, building lots of businesses, and working with a lot of business owners, all of it, what I've learned is that panic is really expensive. Panic costs money, time, and peace of mind. And I've seen a lot of costly fear in the last few weeks, all over the place. Before we jump in, I want you to let me know in the chat where you're watching from. And then tell me if you're holding like blue chip coins or the big three, Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, or are you holding an altcoin bag? So I'm going to go ahead and look and try and see what everybody is holding in the chat. Okay. Sammy, thanks so much for being here. The big burn, I made it. So glad to see you, friend. And then is that Thailand Chipper? Chipper? Hello, how are you? And then let's see. Dayton Best is from Lima, Peru, another really cool place that I want to go. I actually am trying to plan a trip for Peru for early next year. So I'm very excited to see someone from Peru. Okay. And Mark, yes, men are welcome. The way that I do things on this show is that I believe that men and women can benefit from their different ways of thinking. So women tend to think long term. They tend to be more aware of risk, and they plan for the long term outcomes. Men tend to think to be able to take advantage of short-term opportunities, because a lot of times they think in short terms and they can see those opportunities and they tend to act on them. So what I think is that real wealth is built by combining those strategies. And I often recommend, if you're going to break down your portfolio and kind of look at how that would play into a thesis or a strategy, I usually say about 60% of your holdings should be focused on that long-term thinking like women tend to have. And then 30% should be focused on having cash on the side to be able to take advantage and act quickly on those short-term investments, like where men are strong. And then 10% should be what I consider tuition. So money that you're not afraid to lose, but that you can learn with, whether it goes up or down, that you're not going to worry about. So yes, all men are welcome. And let's see, I see Sensei says I hold mainly the top 3 or 4. That's great. That's pretty much what I have. I do have a couple of other ones that I'm kind of stuck in right now, Sensei. So I'm just kind of holding on because I believed in them, when I bought them, and I believe in them for the long term. So right now I'm just holding on to my position. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, about how that is just a vicious cycle that happens in crypto, how people tend to buy when there's a lot of hype, and then they get stuck because they don't sell, and then they sell low when everything drops. They sell in fear, and then the cycle repeats itself because they see the coin turning around, they regret getting out, and they jump back in. So let's see. Revved Up Biker says XRP, ONT, Cody, Sol, FET, and AVAX. I have some of those, not all of them. Oh, sorry, you said Quant. And I lost my place here in the chat. Let's see. Zion Matrix, 100%. Good to see you. Playa del Carmen. Ah, nice. XRP. And that was Jacko Valaco. And XRP, yep. I believe in XRP in the long term. I know it's been giving people a lot of headaches in the last month or so, but I have a lot of belief in the technology behind XRP and where it's headed. So let's see. Dallas, Texas, holding XRP and up. That's Mark. And then literally have my house in XRP. Oh, Terry Rose. My Ed Jones agent didn't like it on our review. I mean, I can understand that. People that are in, traditional, like TradFi, traditional finance, and they are recommending things for you, they aren't necessarily looking at speculative markets. And right now, I would say that crypto is still mostly a speculative market, has higher volatility, but this is the perfect time to get in, I believe, because I think that where it's going is amazing. We have the most support in the United States. We have the most support from any administration that we've ever had. We've gotten clarity already with XRP, since you said that's your largest holding, with the conclusion of the SEC case against Ripple and XRP. They have clarity. Now we're just looking for clarity in the larger market. And I am in the camp that believes that we'll get something passed with the Clarity Act by mid to end of April, I'm hoping. But I also am looking at the long-term horizon, and I think that XRP is amazing. So I will say too that I heard a really great analogy about how everything is shifting in markets right now. I heard this yesterday from someone called Right Side Blonde. She explained it as, when we had telephones on the wall, and then we got wireless phones, and then we got cell phones. People didn't just stop using their phones on the wall and then their wireless phones immediately when cell phones came out. Those two things ran parallel together. And I believe that's what's happening with traditional markets and with crypto. Those rails are being built, and the people that are buying in early, these are two monetary systems that are running parallel for each other. We're not just going to abandon one and jump right into the other. That happens over a period of time, but I do believe that that's where we're heading with our monetary system. So as anything, it takes a little while for new technology and new advancements to really grab holds in the mainstream. But I do think that that is where we are heading. So if you are looking at a long-term horizon, I think you're in a pretty good safe bet. Okay, UK. Let's see, who is this? Gavin Johnson is in the UK holding CCX and XRP. Great. I see a lot of XRP here. I'm not seeing too much Bitcoin, but I do see a lot of XRP. And Dayton Best is in Peru, and BMNR. I said that already. Bag holder. And what is the latest news on them? To be honest, I haven't really looked into BMNR, but I'm happy to do that. And then I can come back next week and tell you what I think. Women are a bit more intuitive, says Jacko Valaco. And then High Energy Investments, XRP, XLM, HBAR, and World Liberty Financial. I have every one of those. So we're in the same boat here. It looks like High Energy Investments, Ninja Cowboy, Just XRP, and Flare at the moment. Both good bets. I did have some Flare. I was rebalancing my portfolio, so I did have to. I sold before it went down. I took a little bit of profit and I put that into. I think it was Ondo at the time that I rebalanced. But let's see. Some of these names I can't read. Chalatler. Sorry if I butchered that. He's in the same boat as High Energy Investments. And then Chris Terry, gotta love when the phone changes your wording. And you don't catch it. Oh yes. One of my favorite memes is that there's a place reserved in Heal for autocorrect. And so if you get the joke, you get it. But I love that meme. Anyway, Melvin Yeo, what do you think of ZBCN? I don't have ZBN. I've never held ZBN, and so I honestly can't talk on ZBCN. I know a lot of people are very dedicated to ZBCN, but for multiple reasons that I won't get into today, I chose not to hold ZBCN, and so I'm not going to talk about that one. Okay, so let's go back and let's anchor in reality here a little before we really dive into today. Let me see. Before we really dive into things, I want to anchor. So right now I'm looking at the price of Bitcoin at the moment is 67,359. XRP is 142. ETH is at, let's see, I'm going to refresh this, 2032.03. Solana is at 86.49. I should refresh that too. Solana is at 86.37. When I last looked this morning, HBAR was about 10 cents, a little over 10 cents, 10.36. Okay, so I wanted to anchor in that so that you know exactly where prices stand now, because they really have been all over the place lately. This pullback has been lingering for weeks, and we've been going nowhere but sideways. There's been, you know, some little pumps here and there, and then we pull right back down. So we've been chopping sideways, and it's starting to feel like this could be permanent, like a structural change. That's the fear that I'm hearing. But if you understand how markets move and the psychology of each phase of that market, then you know that this really is nothing new. There are a lot of changes coming to crypto markets, but this is not something, as far as the pullback, this isn't something we haven't seen before. All markets have been in a pullback lately. All coins have been in a pullback, excuse me. All the coins have been in a pullback, so this really is not anything that people should be panicking about at the moment. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of short-term pain right now, but we're learning to look at a long-term horizon here. We're learning to think like investors, not gamblers. So I want you to think of the crypto market as an ocean. Bitcoin is the tide, and altcoins are the little boats that are floating on top. And historically, when the tide pulls out, the little boats don't just dip, they flip. And this episode is like how to survive so that you don't sabotage yourself, or in a way that you don't sabotage yourself. And here's the reality of why people are feeling wrecked right now. A lot of you aren't just down. A lot of us aren't just down. We're almost embarrassingly down. Like, I don't even want to open my app down. And I can tell you that just in the last couple of days, I've been opening my app again. But for a couple of weeks, I was avoiding looking at my holdings because I knew that they were just going sideways. And let's see. Sorry, I thought I just saw a question come in. I do see something that came in. High Energy Investments gave me a super chat for 1111. Thank you so much. Grateful to be home and watching you, Casey. Well, I am so grateful that you're here. Thank you. Okay. And just to do a check here, can everyone hear me okay today? Want to make sure that my audio is working and before I move forward. And while we're at it, I would love it if you could hit that like button, because that gets YouTube to share this out to more people, and it shows me that you're liking the content that I'm providing. So I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. This is a really important one. We've got 4 broadcasters on here now, and somebody is live every day. It is a fantastic place to get an education and get an education for free. So subscribe if you're liking what you see, and check out Martyn Sensei and Vaz. They have amazing shows as well. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. That's all temporary. XRP will flip Bitcoin. This is from Chris Terry. And then we are on the way to the front of the bow. Okay. This I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. And then I promise we will get back to what I prepared for today. So, I do love XRP. I am not a Bitcoin maxi. I am not an XRP maxi. I look at investments and opportunities as they come, and I also look at the long-term horizon. But I have quite a few people in my life that are Bitcoin maxis, and then I have just as many that are just XRP maxis. And this is my feeling on that. I look at Bitcoin, and it was the original. You know, it was created to be an exit. And like, if you've ever read through the Bitcoin white paper, you'll see that it was created to be an exit from the current system that a lot of people felt was taking advantage of them, and they were like indebted to banks, and this was an exit from what they saw was a corrupt system. And then XRP, I think the reason that there's such a divide between people that hold or really believe in Bitcoin and people that really believe in XRP is because XRP was really designed to be on the institutional side. And so the argument that I hear often from my Bitcoin maxi friends is that Bitcoin was designed to be a weapon to exit the system for retail. I agree, but that has also become institutional, and it does have some holdbacks. It's slower. It's hard to use as merely a currency because it's slower and it takes layer 2 technology on top of the layer 1 blockchain in order to move that money around. Now, I do love XRP. Bitcoin. I love the way that it was designed. I love that it does still give people this store of value outside of the system. So I do think that it's going up. But I see XRP not as, counter to Bitcoin, because that's some of the argument that I get is that it's institutional. And why would I, if I'm someone who holds Bitcoin, to exit a system that I feel is corrupt, why would I want anything that is partnered with institutions? And here's my argument to that. A lot of people can't exit the system right now. They've got they're in stocks, they have bank accounts, they have retirements, they have 401ks and TSPs all wrapped up in a market. Oh, sorry, just a second. Knocked my camera there. They can't exit the system. And what XRP was designed to do was to bring institutions and legacy banks onto transparent rails. So, I mean, I think you could see that as a weapon to fight any type of, opaqueness that exists in the banking system now. Anything that is designed to push legacy banking onto transparent rails is something that I'm interested in. And this is that parallel system again. We can't just exit the system and burn it all down. That's not going to happen. This is going to be a slow transition over time, implementing and adopting new technology. And we are always going to need banks to be a part of that. There's always going to be global commerce. There's always going to be commerce. There's going to be governments sending money back and forth. And so for me, XRP and Bitcoin are two sides of the same coin. So if you're someone who does believe that, that they're weapons, I don't know if that's the right terminology that I would use, but I don't have a better word for it, then they're two weapons in the same war, trying to make things more transparent, trying to give power back to everyday people so that you can control your money. So that's enough of my soapbox for now. Let's get back to what we're going to talk about today. Let's see. Let me figure out where I was here in my presentation. While we're doing that, I'm just seeing other people in the chat. Let's see. And I do see that people could hear me. Okay, I think we're still good. Okay, so oh. So before I was saying that I didn't just want to open, like I haven't wanted to open my app in a couple of weeks, and I just started doing that again. Here's the part nobody ever wants to admit out loud. In this type of market, it's normal to see huge drawdowns in altcoins. And I'm not just talking about the random binky bunk coins that are out there. I'm talking about what people call blue chip coins, like XRP, like Ethereum. It is normal in this environment to have that kind of pullback. So I'm going to try and make this simple. Imagine that you've taken a suitcase full of $10,000 and put it into your crypto. But with this downturn, it now looks like that suitcase is you just holding a lunch bag. A lot of people feel that way right now. And that kind of emotional whiplash is where people start to do really stupid things. And it's not because they're stupid, it's because they're human. If you're sitting here thinking, I feel like I got played, listen, markets have seasons. And right now, we're in a season that exposes weak hands, weak plans, and weak research. Give me a 1 in the chat if you've been avoiding looking at your crypto positions. Let's see. Give me just a second here. Run, Forest, run. Just want to make sure I'm not getting any messages here. Okay. I just saw a message come in from Martyn. So I just wanted to check that and see. Okay. So, and I also want you to put a 2 in the chat if you're looking every 5 minutes trying to will the market to go back up, because that is also behavior that that is going to keep you on an emotional roller coaster. Okay, and as I said before, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I believe that there's plenty of room for great projects and blockchain technology to play in the sandbox together. And but in times like this, I think Bitcoin is a great benchmark for everything else. And this is what I want you to remember. Bitcoin is a measuring stick. If you're taking extra risk, you need extra reward. If your altcoin isn't beating Bitcoin over a meaningful window of time, you're carrying more risk and there's less payoff. So, altcoin investing without benchmarking is like bragging that you walked 10,000 steps when you were actually walking on a treadmill backwards. How do you use Bitcoin as a measuring stick? Choose a 1 to 5 year window. You want it, the longer the better, depending on your time horizon. But you want to choose a longer time frame and take a look at your holding, your altcoin, and you want to ask yourself these questions: how did it do versus USD, the US dollar, and how did it perform against Bitcoin? Because those are two totally different conversations. And a lot of people think they're investors, but they're really just collectors. It's like people that collect candles, pretty labels, but no plan. So now let's look at the psychology trap: investor behavior versus gambler behavior. It turns smart investors into emotional day traders. And this is what this kind of market does. Think of it like this: an investor walks into a down market like a woman walks into, or like a mom, I would say, walks into Costco. They look at what's on sale and what's worth restocking. A gambler walks into a down market like they're jumping from roulette table to roulette table, trying to win back their good mood. One of the worst cycles that people get trapped in, and I mentioned this earlier, is selling in fear and then re-entering at higher levels. That's not strategy, that's emotion wearing an investor's costume. My 3-question filter for ladies in crypto is simple and repeatable. So, did my thesis break? This is question number 1. Or did my feelings break? Number 2 is, if I could only look at the price for 6 months, would I still want to own this? Sorry, that was, if I couldn't look at the price for 6 months, would I still want to own this? That's, in the days that you don't want to open your app and you don't want to look at the price. If you could go 6 months, would you still own it? And if I'm wrong, what do I need to see to admit that to myself? Okay, so what do strong hands actually do in downturns? Strong hands are people with a plan that they can follow when they're really tired. And that's a hard one, because we all get tired in these downturn markets, and it is really hard to stick to a plan when emotions take hold. It's like when a pilot hits turbulence when they're flying, they don't rip all the buttons off the dashboard, they follow a checklist. And here's another checklist for you. Option A in markets like this is if you're emotional, pause. Option B is if your thesis is intact and your time horizon is long, you can start to do small DCA. And then option C is if you can explain your portfolio, reduce decisions and simplify. I'm a systems person. That's why I've been in business for 20 plus years. I see things in systems. I look in systems. I look at things from a systems perspective. And when I'm overwhelmed and tracking too many coins, I don't want my yo-yo emotions to take over. What I need are fewer decisions. So here's the question that changes everything. What is this money for? Here's where I want you to pull away from price stalking for just a minute. If you don't decide what this money is for, you'll never take profits. You'll never feel safe. Um, every pump will feel like you didn't buy enough. Money without a purpose is like driving with no address. Driving using your GPS when you're driving with no address. You'll burn gas, you'll argue with your GPS, and you'll still feel lost and all over the place. Okay, so I want to go to the chat here again for just a minute and see. I want you to answer this question in the chat for me. If crypto works out for me, it changes what first? What does it change first if it works out for you? Are you trying to pay off your house, buy a house, put a down payment on a house, get rid of your debt? Are you looking for freedom, for a safety net, for 6 months of expenses, or helping your family? When you have a real purpose, you stop trying to win the short-term moonshots and you start building real outcomes. So again, I want you to tell me if crypto works out for me, it changes what first? Let's see what people in the chat are saying here. Okay. Vaz says, I have days when I don't know stock prices until I've come back from work and start preparing for my show. I agree. I have plenty of days like that. You know, I run a full-time business working, I work with small businesses, a fractional COO. And there are plenty of days that I'm working on projects and I have to, kind of cram for in the evenings or early morning before I start. So I'm right there with you, Vaz. There's some days that I just won't open it at all. I do keep up on the news, but I don't always look at prices. Okay. Only checking when trading stock movements. This is Vaz also. Otherwise, I check markets only a few times around the opening bell and then the closing bell. Yep. Let's see. Have days when I don't know stock prices. I read that already. And then doesn't bother me. I know what stocks I'm buying and what business I'm investing in. And that's really important. That's a great point, Vaz. Know what you're investing in. Absolutely. Okay. Generational wealth says right in, and financial freedom. Generational wealth is a really, really great um, that's a that's a really good example, and that is an incredible goal because not many people have the foresight and the discipline to try and build that generational wealth. Um, so what I would say if you're trying to build generational wealth and because that is so long, do you have profit targets? You don't want to get bogged down too much in them because then you'll start trading all the time if you're not hitting them on your set deadlines. But if you have a certain amount of money that you want to move into something, or, let's say you have some type of cash flow insurance, or let's say you have some kind of trust or something that you're trying to set up for generational wealth, do you have targets that you want to hit to move things into out of crypto and into other things? So that would help with setting shorter term goals. Okay, retirement, that's a really good one too. Um, and again, I would set some benchmarks if you're planning this for retirement. It's amazing, but what are your benchmarks, shorter term and along the way? Okay, get into a house for my kids to go to a better school. That's a really good one, William Bond. Um, and the retirement was revved up biker. So also generational wealth and financial freedom. And freedom is another great one. It's really great. But what does that financial freedom look like to you? I'd encourage people to get really granular when you're talking about what your money is for. Okay, daughters, retirement, and the tidy big dog daughters. Yeah, that's a big one. My daughter got married. My middle child, my daughter, got married back in August of 2025, and boy, that came out of nowhere for us. I mean, we had been planning, but we also have 3 kids in college right now, so we weren't planning it this soon. So that is, when you're thinking of daughters, we did. I did manage to cover that wedding and the college tuition, because I had the strategies in place to be able to do that. And I had money set aside for situations just like this. Okay. Martyn says, you must have a job. This is Terry Rose. You must have a job to be in the market. I have been in the street for 8 years. This downturn has this old person looking, but no one wants a person my age. Oh, well, I'm sorry about that, Terry Rose. That's tough. It is tough, but there are so many ways to try and bring in extra money. So I think, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Martyn here, but I'm assuming that what he says is have some type of income. It doesn't have to be that traditional job where you're going out and working a 9 to 5 at some corporation, but look at different ways that you can bring in income so that you can fund your investments, so that you have, that steady income coming in. And there's lots of ways to do that. There's so many different ways that you can try and build some stable income coming in. Okay, I'm all but disabled. This is Chris Terry, and I'm looking for a way out of having to work so hard every day, and I hope crypto gets me there. Well, I will be praying for that for you, Chris Terry, because yeah.
Still connected. Are you streaming again now?
I believe so. Am I live? Are we back?
It'll take a few seconds.
Yep. Okay. It looks like we are back. It says that I'm live.
Yeah, explain to the audience what's going on.
Yep.
I'll let you go.
Thank you. Thanks, Martyn.
Bye.
Okay. Yes, I'm back. Okay. I just got a streamer error that just popped up on the screen, and the broadcast was still going, but it was no longer recording me. So I don't know what happened there. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for staying. And we are going to move on because I have been talking for a while and I have not even gotten into the psychology of the market. So we're going to skip ahead for a minute here, and we are going to go through this fairly quickly. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go into teacher mode here, and we're going to talk about the psychology of markets. So I am glad. Yes, high energy says bloody hell. I don't know what's going on with the stream. This one was not user error; it was software error. So I do apologize. I am so glad that you stuck around, and we are we're gonna move on now. Okay, so again, this isn't financial advice, but this is about market psychology. Um, so this is so you stop getting played by your own mood swings and emotions, and because you because if you can recognize the cycle and the phase of the market, you can stop making emotional decisions. Okay, so here we go. And I am actually, the audio is working good this week. So I think we got that fixed from last week on my slides. So we're going to walk this whole loop. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly since we've been on for a while just chatting. If crypto has you feeling confused, embarrassed, or tempted to do something really dramatic, I want you to just take a deep breath, because what you're feeling has a map. I'm sure that some of you have probably seen it before. This chart is basically the emotional weather pattern of every market cycle. And crypto just does this faster and louder. Okay, so make sure I'm not hitting anything here. So if you can name the phase, you can choose the correct action. So here's the whole story kind of in a nutshell. Price moves first, then emotions chase it, and then emotions overshoot it, and then people make decisions at the worst possible time. So now we're going to do two things. We're going to name the emotional phase of the market, and we're mapping coin types to what they do in each of those phases. Okay. Disbelief. This cycle usually starts with disbelief. That's when people say, this little bounce doesn't mean anything, or, they don't quite trust it. There's disbelief that the market is going to go up. And then in the next phase, that shifts to hope. Not confidence, just the tiny thought that maybe, just maybe it's going to be okay. Hope is like seeing a single patch of blue sky after a storm. It doesn't mean the storm is over. It just means that the weather might be changing. And that's what we are hoping for to see in the coming weeks and months, is this return to have some hope in this system. Okay, in crypto, hope is when you see those first green candles and you start checking your price again. Okay, and then we move on to optimism. Optimism and belief are the two next phases. Optimism is when people start thinking, okay, this might be real. And then comes belief. Let's see. Then comes belief. When you start emotionally committing to the story of, we're back. This is the turn. This is where smart people start getting sloppy, though. Not because they're dumb, but because relief feels like proof. This is the phase where you really, really want to plan because your brain is about to get really loud. Okay. Then we go on to thrill. There's thrill and then euphoria. So, first we hit thrill, then we hit euphoria. And this is the I'm a genius part of the movie. And the market loves this phase because it makes people abandon their rules. And that's a big thing. Just know that that we all can fall prey to this, that it is easy to abandon your rules when you start to get those emotions of excitement in the thrill phase. People size up, they chase, they brag, they stop learning, they stop really paying attention. Euphoria is next. And euphoria is like getting a few lucky wins at the casino and thinking that you've discovered a secret system to beat the house every time. This is when the house smiles because they know that you will overbet. And that's the biggest problem in the euphoria phase. This is when people just start flooding in. People that have been out of the market start buying high because they're chasing that hype and that excitement. And most of the time, this is when people will overbet. In crypto, euphoria is when people stop asking what it is and what are the fundamentals of a coin, and they start asking how high can it go, which is never a good thing. And then we get to complacency. Complacency first, and then anxiety. So let's see. In complacency, we just need to cool off in complacency. And then anxiety is the first real discomfort that we have. It's not panic yet. Let's see, we're going to go to anxiety here. It's not panic yet. It's just that like really nagging feeling of why isn't this bouncing like it used to when it was in the euphoria stage. Anxiety is the moment that you realize that the music got quieter, but you kept dancing because you don't want to be the first one to stop on the dance floor. Okay, this is where people start watching influencers for reassurance instead of checking their own thesis. And this is why it's really important for you to have a plan and a thesis. Okay. Then we get into denial. So we're going to look at denial, panic, and capitulation next. So this is like now we're entering the expensive part of the market. Denial, which becomes panic, which becomes capitulation. Oh, we've got a couple denials here, which, we've got panic next, and then we've got capitulation. This is where I believe we've been for the last few weeks, for at least the last couple of weeks. If you've ever sold the exact bottom and then watched it bounced like just the next day or the next week, I'm not judging you. I'm telling you that you didn't fail a math test. You got caught in a human reaction. And so many people do this. The market uses volatility to transfer money from emotional hands to disciplined hands. And this is where discipline becomes really important. But you want to have that discipline and that plan before we get to this phase, because it becomes a lot harder to see the forest through the trees if you don't have a plan going into it. Okay, let's see. Then we've got anger. Let's see. After the sell-off comes anger, and then depression, and then that heavy feeling like I can't believe I did that, or I'm an idiot. You start having all of that negative self-talk in your brain, and you start second guessing and regretting all the decisions that you made. And then let's see, we've got anger, and then we reset back into, well, first we go into depression. That's when you really are hard on yourself. Complete disbelief. Oops. And then we reset and we go back in to the beginning of that cycle. I did want to talk about depression a little bit because that's an important piece of this, because the emotions show up the same every time. Depression doesn't say like, I don't even want to I don't even want to open the app again. It says, I never want to look at this again. Like I want to exit the market. And that's why recovery always feels fake at first, because so many people have felt wrecked to the point that they're so depressed that they don't believe that it's ever going to recover, and they just pull out entirely. And this is when the next cycle is born, and most people don't even see it coming. And they don't understand that if they had just held through these emotions and had a plan going into it, then they might not have been so wrecked. Let's see, let's go back here for a second. Okay. So let's move on to the different coin types really quickly, and why we can't treat them all the same. So this is where beginners have a hard time understanding. They treat every single coin like it should behave the same way, and they think that's just not true. Think of crypto market like a school cafeteria. You've got different tables, different personalities, and different social rules at each. If any of you can remember being back in the middle school days, or even the high school days. So the coin types that I look at are the blue chips, the majors, the DeFi memes, and the narratives. So the blue chips and the majors tend to be the backbone of this industry. They usually have the deepest liquidity and the longest attention span of any coins in the market. So think Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP. Um, they still drop, but they move. But they're more likely to be standing when the cycle turns again. They're the ones that usually last. This is typically where long-term investors anchor their plan, is in these types of blue chips. And then next, we have infrastructure coins and narrative coins. They can absolutely skyrocket during the optimism and thrill phase of the market because the story is exciting. But when the cycle turns into anxiety and denial, those stories usually get sold first. Okay, narrative coins in that same kind of category. They're like fashion seasons. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. So you size them like a trend, not like a forever asset or a long-term asset. And then you've got DeFi. DeFi is a toolbox category more than I would say a coin category. Lending, liquidity, trading, all of that. It can be powerful, but it adds extra layers of risk. So my rule is if you don't understand the risk, don't reach for yield just because you feel stressed. Because a lot of people get into DeFi because they're looking for yield and yield pools and things like that. And then we've got meme coins. Memes are basically attention seekers in coin form. They can move fast and especially in the phases of thrill and euphoria, they can really move fast and take off fast. But they can fall very fast in the panic phase. So just be aware that if you're holding one of those coins, keep an eye on what phase of that market we talked about that we were in. And if you're getting close to panic, you might want to think about selling if you still can take profit. So if you play in the meme coin world, your position size should treat them like they're entertainment and not retirement. Okay. So, what do you do with all of this information that we just talked about? Here are the practical rules. Don't ask what this coin is. Ask what phase are we in and what category is this coin in? Because the right move in euphoria is not the same right move in, say, capitulation. And one rule that cleans up the chaos is benchmark your non-Bitcoin holdings against Bitcoin over a real window of time, just like we talked about earlier. And let's see. Here's 3 questions for you. This is what I went over earlier. These same 3 questions, I come back to these over and over again. So now that you know the cycle phases, the market psychology phases, and you know the types of coins and how they maybe react in each of those phases, you want to ask, did my thesis break or did my emotions break? Would I buy this today if I didn't already own it? And what would prove me wrong specifically? What would I need to see to admit that I was wrong is a better way to phrase that question. Okay, so we're going to go back to the chat and I'm going to see where everybody's Wonder how everybody's doing today. I want to know if you understood, if I need to go back and show that chart again for the market psychology phase, or if everybody understood that. If you have any questions, I would love to hear it now in the chat. Okay. Thank you for again for holding by when the streaming software had an error. Chris Terry, she read my comment and crippled the broadcasting. Again, the software just popped up with an error on the screen. I do not know what happened there. Um, Waiting for the stream to come back, working on a fix. Let's see. Okay, so we're back, we're back, we're back. Had the circle of death, thought it was me, revved up biker. Yeah, I'm glad that it gave me a warning this time. When my audio went last week, I didn't even get the pop-up error. So at least it's working now. Long or short, I can relate to that, says Yolanda. Not don't know where I was, so I'm not sure what you're relating to, but a lot of those emotions that we talked about in that chart are something that I can relate to. Um, Revved up biker, my wife runs a similar cycle too. My husband might say the exact same thing. That's pretty funny. Close to 65, close than 65K, says Trader Kisho. And then love the ladies of crypto psychology of markets. Thank you, Zion Matrix. That is amazing. Yeah, it's so fascinating for me to look at that psychology and see it happening in real time, because I've lived through these cycles before, but I didn't really understand what cycles we were in. And now that I've really dug into studying those and seeing which coins move the fastest, and over the last couple of years, I've really seen that cycle. Sometimes it speeds up, sometimes it slows down. Right now, we're kind of in a chopping sideways, so it seems like this cycle is dragging on. But it is so fascinating to me to see that you can still make money in this type of market if you understand how it moves and you position yourself ahead of time. Okay. Um, let's see. High energy investments. The news of Iran not going to make a deal is affecting all the markets. Well, yeah, I think some of this was priced in already, but of course, in the very short term, it is going to affect markets. Any type of world geopolitical news that we get like this, or we get that's a surprise, it's going to, at least in the very short term, affect markets if the news has not been priced into the market already. I Let's see. Raydin says, I agree, Zion. This has been an excellent show. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. War is imminent, unfortunately. I do have opinions on that, but I am going to, I think maybe we've been talking for a while now. I'll give you my quick opinion, which is, unfortunately, I do think that we're heading for some type of some type of military action. But as we saw, in 2025, when we went in and took out the nuclear facility, it was a quick action. It didn't get drawn out. And when we look at Venezuela, we saw the same type of thing, like um, a quick and swift action on the part of the United States. And so my thought and my hope is that that is an indicator of how this administration will behave if we have to get into any more conflicts. So I think that there's a show of strength with the military presence in Iran, and I hope that if it does, if war is imminent, that it will be swift and fast, and it will not drag out. So that is my hope, and what I'm the positive attitude that I'm trying to keep. Okay, so getting wrecked in this is Revved Up Biker. Getting wrecked in the last cycle just got me angry to not give up. I will win. I bought a large bag load. That's the way to be. I mean, a lot of people don't, to be honest, like make it in their first cycle. A lot of people have that same, oh, I'm sorry, I just lost my screen. Wow, I don't know where it went. Am I still live? Oh boy. Okay, tell me if I'm still here. This is crazy that I am having just random things stop on me today. Wow, I don't even think that I can end this stream because this window has disappeared. Let's see. Am I still? Can you guys tell me in the chat if you can still see me? Because I cannot see anything on my screen right now. I can still see the chat, but I can't see anything else, and I don't even have a menu to pull from right now. I don't know why this disappeared on me. We see you. Okay. Yes, I don't know. This this is crazy today because I didn't touch a thing and my window just totally disappeared on me. I can see my cameras. I can see my scenes, but I cannot see the program window. I don't know where it went. So I'm just going to keep talking to you for a second, and then I'm going to figure out how I can end the stream. Because I don't have a window to see how to end it. Okay. So we see you. We hate all computers just as much as we do market dumps. I 100% agree. All good. Windows or Apple. I am on a Mac computer. So tech support is absolutely needed. And this is a brand new Mac. And so I don't think it's an internet or power issue, computing power issue. Minimize, I can't minimize. Yeah, that's a good, trying to minimize, but I have no window to minimize. So that's the option here, or that's the issue here. Let's see if I can pull up the program window this way. Program window. Oh, nope. Bear with me, guys. I'll keep talking to you while I am trying to find this. Maybe it got minimized somehow. I can now see my video, but I have no way to, none of the buttons are showing to manage the stream. So at least we got through the content today. I really appreciate you guys all being here. I will try and hit it hard with a hammer. I'm probably just going to do a hard shutdown here in just a minute. And I will be back next week. Hopefully this will all be sorted. We got the audio sorted at least, and it was lovely to have you all here with me today, and get through this market cycle psychology session or episode. So I'm gonna call it a day, and until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.